Hey guys, this is Nathan and welcome to the Gaming 4. Today in this second Factorio tutorial, I'm going to be covering a couple topics and we're going to be working on some factorization. Specifically, we're going to be working with burner inserters and I'll just be explaining how inserters work in general, as well as transport belts, which are, I think, one of the most important items in this game. And of course, I'll be explaining how to build them, what materials you need, as well as how they work, because they are a little bit complicated and understanding them is a very good first step to getting into automation for this game, because pretty much everything you're going to be doing will require some sort of transport belts, at least initially. Alright, to start us off today, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping, quote unquote. I'm going to keep our furnaces filled. One of the problems that we're going to be probably trying to fix today is the fact that you have to do all of this work manually. And hopefully the introduction of these two new items, the inserters and the transport belts, will fix at least some of your automation problems. Now, it's not guaranteed to fix them all. I think we'll be fixing pretty much all of those next episode when we do get into electricity, because as of now you do have to manually fill everything with coal, because that still takes some work. So let's talk quickly about what these things are going to cost. We'll just go over both of them. So in order to make two transport belts, it takes one iron plate and one iron gear wheel. Now notice at the bottom it says there's the total raw cost, and it has a time amount that is 1 second and 3 iron plates. That's the total amount of raw items you need to make this. So in all, it'll take 1 second to craft all the components as well as the object you're trying to create overall. Now, similarly to the transport belts, the burner inserters actually has the exact same recipe, except it only gives you one burner inserter. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you two, but it makes sense you get two transport belts for every one that you craft, because you really use a lot of them. As you guys can also see, it's a burner inserter, as in it burns fuel for energy. So we will of course be using coal to fuel this and make it work the way we want to. Alright, so let us start creating some of these transport belts. Now I'm going to grab a bunch of resources here. I had some smelting in the background. And we're going to start by just crafting a bunch of these. Now something you guys may have noticed, it's kind of a hotkey that I used. If you right click in the crafting menu, it'll add 5 of that item to start crafting, okay? So it's just a faster way of crafting things. Obviously, it's a little nicer than clicking them one by one. And so it's just one of those things that'll help speed up the process a little bit for you. Maybe start using that if you know you're going to need multiple of that type of item. All right, so we've got our transport belt. Now, of course, you can rotate these as you would expect. And these are probably some of the funnest items in the game. So when you place them down, they do one simple thing. They move stuff, including yourself. You can hook them together. What's kind of nice is you can also turn them. We can start moving myself as well as items that are dropped. We can start moving them around the map. And the nice thing about these transport belts is they're essentially free energy. It's really a good thing for us. This is what we can start doing. Now that we've got a transport belt, we can start hooking up our transport belt to our burner mining drill. Now, as you guys can see, instead of dropping it on the ground, it drops it on the transport belt, and the transport belt moves the item along. Now, this is perfect for us because obviously we can start storing stuff on a transport belt instead of on the ground. And this allows us to move these objects along the line so that we can get them closer to our stone furnace where they're going to be smelted. So, let's see, I'm probably going to need more transport belts to pipe it all the way down from here. But we're going to do something similar except with coal, just because it would be great to have coal heading upstream as well. So we're going to change both of these inputs, and we're going to get some coal on this belt. And the nice thing is you can run in place at the same time. It's actually a super great feature. Okay, so notice something here. I've placed this at the wrong angle. Now, it's easy to fix. You can just place over it. It doesn't waste a transport belt, which is the nice thing. Also, you can rotate it mid-track as well, just like you can pretty much rotate everything else. So we're going to be wanting our tracks to come up here. Now, this is kind of an unfortunate thing. We do have our coal pretty far away from everything else, which it's kind of unavoidable, it happens. So I'm going to convert both of these into iron smelters. We don't really need both as copper right now. And I'm just going to grind out real quick a bunch more iron so we can craft the rest of these transport belts. Alrighty guys, so now that we've got our track mostly here, let's talk about another mechanic of these transport belts. As you guys may be noticing already, all of the items seem to be going on one half or the other of these transport belts. And this is actually one of the most important mechanics, and it's part of what makes them so useful. And we can use this to our advantage. Specifically, this allows us to keep two different types of items separated. Essentially, that's all it does. And this makes it really useful for us because we can put iron on one half and then maybe coal on the other half. So the way that you can start doing this is as simple as connecting the tracks together. Now, as you guys see, because the coal is coming onto this lower half of this track, iron is going onto the upper half of this track, they do stay separated. And what this allows us is it gives us all of the components needed for smelting iron on a single track. Now this leads us perfectly to our next part where we start talking about burner inserters. So let's build us our first burner inserter, and as this is a new object, I'll run you through it. As you guys can see, it's got an arrow and a line to it. Now, essentially, the line is where it's going to be pulling items from, and the arrow is going to be where it's going to be placing the items. And of course, this is a burner, so it does need fuel. It's got the common fuel gauge that you should be used to already. So what can we do with this? How is this useful to us? Let's say we want iron in our stone furnace. Looks like we just ran out. We also want coal in our stone furnace. Well, it's bothersome to do that by hand, so why not make an inserter do that? Okay, so actually this is kind of interesting. I didn't really expect him to do this. Inserters will insert themselves with coal, so they will keep themselves fueled. So the nice thing about them is when you've got a coal line like this, it'll keep itself fueled. It will also insert coal and iron ore into this stone furnace. Now this gives us half of a really good setup. So this keeps our stone furnace busy. It keeps all the right ingredients in there to create some iron plates for us. And this gives us two options pretty much. First of all, we can manually pick up the items from there, or we can have an inserter output them for us. So why don't we get the inserter to output them for us? So as you guys can see, if we make the line on the side of the stone furnace, it'll pull output from the stone furnace. Now the only thing that's in the output slot are the iron plates once they're smelted. So this will allow us to automatically grab all the iron plates out from our furnaces. Of course, we're having them place them in a chest. We can do a little better than that. So let's make a couple more of these tracks and we'll have them place them on these tracks instead. Now what this allows us to do is if we extend these tracks just a slight bit and we're going to create 3 more inserters, it allows us to make this kind of setup. Okay, well first of all we got to make sure we're fueling our inserters here because they do have limited amount of fuel. As you can see, this top one has run out, so we do have to manually still insert the coal for that. As you guys can see, we're using multiple tracks to feed multiple furnaces. The output goes to one place and can be combined into a single chest. Alrighty guys, so one last thing I want to cover that I didn't really mention is how the heck do inserters work? And not specifically, like I'm sure you understand the arrow thing. That's where it's going to insert the items. This is where it takes the items from. But more specifically, how does it decide what items to insert? This is something that you might take for granted, but I think it might be helpful for you guys just to understand that. Essentially, the inserters take whatever they can and insert it wherever they can. Now, let me make that clear. If I put something on the line that the furnace cannot accept, let's say I put like a copper plate on the line, I can do that just by pressing Z and it'll drop those on the line. Notice the inserter's not picking those up and inserting them into the stone furnace. Because the stone furnace cannot accept the copper plates, the inserter does not try to insert them into the furnace. Essentially, what I'm saying is that these inserters are extremely intelligent. They understand how all of these machines work, and they won't insert something into the machine if they know the machine can't handle it. So, keep that in mind. The inserters are probably one of the most intelligent pieces of equipment you'll work with. A lot of the other stuff you have to manually tune and force to do certain things. So, just wanted to cover that real quick just in case you had that on your mind. Now this is pretty much the start to factorization and automation. Obviously, we're not getting very much coal right now. We've got 2 coal machines down here, which ran out of fuel, in fact. And this just illustrates another point that we're going to be addressing next video. This is still not full automation. We're still reliant on manually inserting coal into things. And next video, we should get past that by moving fully onto electric sources of fuel. So if you guys are interested in that, please stick around and join me for that next video. We will be improving on this setup exponentially because we will make it fully automated, within the next 2 episodes. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. If you have any other questions about some of the mechanics, hopefully I didn't move through it too quickly, I'll be very willing to explain those to you, maybe in the next video or in the comments section. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you all later.